The sky had turned a deep shade of grey, the kind that warned of something fierce approaching. Winds howled through the narrow streets, rattling broken shutters and lifting dust into the air. People hurried home, pulling their coats tighter, eager to escape the coming storm. But in a quiet corner of the city, where cracked sidewalks and dim streetlights told stories of forgotten lives, a young boy named Jamal walked slowly, his worn-out shoes soaked from the first drops of rain. Jamal was only 12, but life had already carved hardship into his small frame. His clothes were thin, his stomach often empty, and his home, a tiny, leaking room, barely offered shelter. Yet despite everything, there was something warm in his eyes, something unbroken. Kindness, perhaps, or hope. As the rain began to fall harder, turning into a violent storm, Jamal noticed a figure ahead, an old man struggling against the wind. His coat flapped wildly, and his cane trembled in his hand. Each step looked like a battle. People passed by him, some glancing briefly, but no one stopped. Jamal paused. He knew what it felt like to be ignored. Without thinking twice, he ran toward the old man. "Sir, are you okay?" He shouted over the roar of the wind. The old man looked up, surprised. His face was pale, his eyes tired. I'm trying to get home," he said weakly. "But it's difficult." Jamal stepped closer, placing a steady hand under the man's arm. "I'll help you. Where do you live?" The old man hesitated, studying the boy's face. Perhaps he saw sincerity there, or maybe he simply had no other choice. He gave Jamal an address. It wasn't close. The rain soaked them both within minutes, cold and relentless. The streets flooded quickly, water rising around their ankles. Jamal tightened his grip on the old man, guiding him carefully, step by step. His own legs ached, but he didn't complain. "Why are you helping me?" The old man asked after a while, his voice trembling. Jamal shrugged, though the man could barely see it through the rain. "Because you need help. That's all." The old man pressed. Jamal nodded. "That's enough, isn't it?" The old man fell silent. As they walked, Jamal shielded him as much as he could, stepping into puddles first, warning him about broken pavement, slowing down when the wind grew stronger. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, the storm refusing to let up. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached a large gate. Jamal blinked in surprise. Behind it stood a beautiful house, far grander than anything he had ever seen. Warm lights glowed through the windows. A stark contrast to the storm outside. "This is my home," the old man said softly. Jamal helped him to the door and knocked. Within seconds, it opened, revealing worried staff members who rushed forward. "Sir, where have you been?" One of them cried, "I'm all right," the old man replied, glancing at Jamal. Thanks to him. All eyes turned to the soaked, shivering boy. Jamal suddenly felt out of place. His torn clothes, muddy shoes, it all seemed louder in the presence of such luxury. "I should go," he said quickly, stepping back. "Wait," the old man called, reaching into his pocket. "At least let me." But Jamal shook his head. "No, sir. I didn't help for money." The old man froze. Jamal gave a small smile. "Just stay safe." And with that, he turned and ran back into the storm. The old man stood at the door, watching the boy disappear into the rain, something deep stirring in his heart. He had just met someone rare, someone unforgettable. By the time Jamal made it back to his neighborhood, the storm had grown even fiercer. Thunder cracked across the sky, and lightning illuminated the broken buildings like flashes of truth, raw and unforgiving. His clothes clung to his skin, heavy and cold, and each step felt harder than the last. When he finally reached his small room, he pushed the creaky door open and stepped inside. Water dripped from his sleeves, forming a small puddle on the cracked floor. The roof leaked in several places, and he quickly moved his thin mattress to a corner that was slightly drier. There was no electricity, no warmth, only silence, broken by the sound of rain hitting the tin roof. Jamal sat down, wrapping his arms around himself. His stomach growled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten since morning. There was nothing left, no bread, no rice, not even a crumb. But hunger was something he had learned to live with. Still, tonight felt different. He closed his eyes and thought of the old man. The way he struggled. The way no one stopped. A faint smile appeared on Jamal's lips. At least he made it home, he whispered to himself. That thought gave him comfort. He lay down, pulling his damp blanket over himself. It wasn't enough to keep him warm, but exhaustion took over. Slowly, despite the cold and hunger, Jamal drifted into sleep. Across the city, in a grand house glowing with warmth, the old man sat in a comfortable chair, wrapped in dry clothes. But his mind was far from at ease. "Find him," he said suddenly. A man in a suit, standing nearby, looked confused. "Sir." "The boy," the old man said, his voice firm now. "Find him." "Yes, sir. But we don't know who he is." The old man leaned forward. "Then find out. A child like that, walking alone in a storm, helping a stranger without asking for anything in return." He paused, emotion tightening his voice. "He deserves more than this world has given him." The man nodded. "We'll start first thing in the morning." But the old man shook his head. "No. Start now." Meanwhile, Jamal slept through the night, unaware that his small act of kindness had set something extraordinary in motion. Morning came slowly. The storm had passed, leaving behind muddy streets and a cold, quiet city. Jamal woke up shivering, his body stiff and weak. For a moment, he just lay there, staring at the ceiling, then reality returned. Another day. Another struggle. He stood up, changed into the driest clothes he had, which weren't very dry, and stepped outside. The air was fresh after the rain, but it carried the scent of hardship. Jamal began his usual routine, walking through the streets, looking for small jobs, anything that could earn him a little money for food. But something felt different that day. People were talking. He overheard whispers. Men in suits, asking about a boy. Jamal frowned but didn't think much of it. Why would anyone be looking for him? He was just invisible. Or so he thought. Jamal was walking past a small roadside stall when he noticed them. 3 men. Tall, well-dressed, completely out of place in his neighborhood. They were speaking to an old shopkeeper, showing him something, perhaps describing someone. Jamal slowed his steps, curiosity tugging at him. "A young boy," one of the men was saying. "About 12. Thin. Worn clothes." The shopkeeper shrugged. "That describes half the children here." The men exchanged glances. Jamal's heart skipped a beat. Could they be talking about him? He shook his head quickly. That didn't make sense. No one looked for boys like him. Still, something inside him urged caution. He turned to leave quietly, but just as he did, one of the men spotted him. "Hey," the man called out. Jamal froze. "Come here, son," the man said, his voice calm but firm. Reluctantly, Jamal walked toward them. "What's your name?" The man asked. "Jamal," he replied softly. The men exchanged another look. "Were you out last night during the storm?" Another one asked. Jamal hesitated. His mind raced. Had he done something wrong? "Yes." "Did you help an old man?" The first man asked. Jamal's eyes widened. For a moment, he considered running. But something in their expressions, serious, yet not unkind, made him stay. "Yes," he admitted. The men's faces changed instantly. Relief. Satisfaction. "We've been looking for you," one of them said. Jamal swallowed hard. "Why?" "Because someone wants to see you." Jamal's heart began to pound. "Who?" The man smiled slightly. "The man you helped." Jamal blinked in disbelief. "The old man." "Yes." Jamal looked down at his worn shoes, suddenly aware of how he looked. Why would he want to see me? The man's expression softened. "Because what you did matters." Jamal didn't know what to say. He had never been told that before. Matters. The word echoed in his mind. "Will you come with us?" The man asked. Jamal hesitated. His life had taught him to be careful, to not trust easily. But something about this moment felt different. Slowly, he nodded, and with that, everything began to change. The car ride was unlike anything Jamal had ever experienced. The seats were soft, the air warm, and the silence peaceful. He sat quietly, his hands clasped together, unsure of what to expect when they arrived. His eyes widened, the same house, the same grand gate. His heart raced as he stepped out of the car inside. Everything was just as he remembered. Warm lights, polished floors, a sense of comfort he had never known. And there, standing in the center of the room, was the old man. "You came," the old man said, his voice filled with emotion. Jamal nodded nervously. The old man walked toward him slowly, then stopped just in front of him. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. Jamal shook his head. The old man smiled faintly. "I'm someone who has spent his entire life surrounded by wealth. And yet, last night, I realized how poor I truly was." Jamal didn't understand. "But you," the old man continued, his eyes glistening, "you showed me something I had forgotten. Kindness. Humanity." Jamal looked down, embarrassed. "I didn't do anything special," he whispered. The old man's voice grew firm. "You did everything." He placed a gentle hand on Jamal's shoulder. "Tell me about your life." And for the first time, someone listened. Jamal spoke slowly at first, then more openly, about his struggles, his hunger, his loneliness. The room fell silent. Some of the staff wiped away tears. When he finished, the old man took a deep breath. "No child should live like that," he said. Jamal looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" The old man smiled warmly. "It means you don't have to anymore." Jamal stood there, unable to speak. "From today," the old man continued, "you will have a home, food, education, a future." Tears filled Jamal's eyes. "Why?" he asked, his voice trembling. The old man's answer was simple. "Because you gave me something priceless, when you had nothing." Jamal broke down. For the first time in his life, he felt seen, valued, loved. Days turned into weeks, and Jamal's life transformed. He started school, wore clean clothes, ate warm meals. But he never forgot where he came from. And every evening, he would sit beside the old man, talking, laughing, sharing stories. Two lives, once worlds apart, now connected by a single act of kindness. And in that connection, they both found something they had been missing: a family.